Parmesan cheese. It was $12.99 and now it's $16.99.
And she's not the only one seeing the rise, as the high cost of groceries is straining many people's wallets.
Have you noticed, just a few months ago, $20 could fill your basket with groceries? Now, with the same amount, you walk out of Walmart with an empty stare and a bag that feels almost weightless. Walmart is no longer the place where Americans can stock up on food for cheap. And ironically, the very items that used to be budget-friendly staples have quietly turned into a slow-burning burden that no one is warning you about. In today's video, we're going to dive into a surprising list of 7 foods loved by millions of Americans that are being pushed to shocking prices because of a chain of decisions that seemed right at first. Think you still have control over your weekly budget? Watch until the end and decide for yourself. Number 1. Canned food. There's one pantry item almost every American household has kept at some point. No fridge required, no complicated prep. Just pop the lid, heat it up, and you had a filling meal. At least that used to be the case. But now, the last time you bought a can of chicken soup tuna, baked beans, or canned beef, did something feel off? Maybe you didn't notice. But according to Nielsen, IQ, canned food prices at major supermarket chains, including Walmart, have jumped an average of 15 to 22% in just the past 12 months. And it's not just the price. Portions are smaller, ingredients have changed. Shelf life is shorter, yet the brands stay silent as if nothing has happened. Ever looked at a can of great value tuna and thought, there's less in here, you're not wrong. Many products have quietly cut food weight by around 10%, keeping the same packaging to trick your eyes. An internal Walmart report revealed that the cost of importing ingredients from Southeast Asia and South America has risen nearly 30%. At the same time, global aluminum shortages have driven up the price of tin can production, forcing manufacturers to cut quantities and change ingredient quality to keep profits intact. So here's the question: if even a simple can of soup is becoming harder to afford, what's left that we can truly call cheap? And here's the kicker: the first people to take the hit are always the middle class. That's you, the person who has to budget every dollar on the grocery bill each week, who keeps a few cans in the pantry for days when cooking isn't an option. The foods that once stood for convenient savings and familiarity are now some of the biggest space hogs on your receipt while giving you the least value in your meals. Do you feel like you're being forced into a corner? Nobody is telling you to buy them, but nothing else is quite as affordable, quick, and long-lasting as canned food. And Walmart, the place that once symbolized low prices for everyday people, can't hold that promise anymore. They may not be the main culprit, but you can see the difference in every aisle. Have you noticed people lingering longer in the canned food section lately? Not to pick what they like, but to compare, to count every cent. And in the end, they still sigh and toss the same familiar item into the cart. This isn't just an urban problem. According to a 2025 USDA survey, canned food consumption in rural areas has gone up 9% due to lack of fresh options. And complaints about quality have climbed 15% along with it. On one hand, people are relying on canned food to save money. On the other hand, those very products are slowly draining their wallets. Up next, we're heading to a product that America can't even produce enough of for its own people. Number 2. Bananas. Anyone who's ever shopped at Walmart has walked past those bright yellow bunches sitting right at the entrance to the produce section. There's hardly a day when the banana display isn't crowded with shoppers. For years, bananas were one of the cheapest items you could buy at Walmart. Just a few dozen cents per pound. Convenient, quick to eat, easy on the stomach. No need to think twice. No hesitation. Americans picked bananas the way they'd grab bottled water or sandwich bread almost instinctively. But because it's such a habit, most people haven't noticed something. Bananas are getting more expensive every single day. According to the USDA's latest produce market report, the cost of importing bananas into the U.S. has jumped nearly 23% in 2025, alone the highest in 8 years. And Walmart, even with its powerful domestic supply chain, hasn't been able to dodge that price spike. Internal Walmart data shows that the average price per bunch has climbed about 19% compared to last year, now inching dangerously close to the point where they can't be called cheap anymore. Why is this happening? Here's the truth. Hardly anyone talks about the US barely grows bananas for commercial sale. Between 90 and 95% of the bananas you see at Walmart, Costco, Kroger, almost all of them come from Guatemala, Honduras, Ecuador, and Colombia. A country of over 300 million people with a powerhouse agricultural industry and supermarkets stretching across 50 states is almost entirely dependent on Central America's climate for its most consumed fruit. And that's becoming a problem. This year, severe storms hit Central America earlier than usual, coupled with a labor crisis at export ports in Honduras, causing major supply chain disruptions. At Walmart distribution centers in Texas and Illinois, the number of delayed banana containers has doubled compared to last year. The result, banana shelves at many Walmart stores aren't as full as they used to be. Some days, all that's left are a few bruised bunches turning brown. When supply drops, prices have to go up. Walmart still tries to hold on to its always low prices image, but bananas, once the poster child for budget-friendly pricing, have turned into a serious headache. The irony is Americans don't have a real alternative. Bananas are breakfast for workers, an afternoon snack for seniors, and a healthy staple for kids. They work for vegans, dieters, gym goers, and low-income families trying to stretch every dollar. So even when prices rise, Walmart can't just pull them from the shelves. All they can do is quietly nudge the price upward. No warning signs, no label changes, just a slightly heavier total on your receipt. And you, the loyal shopper, may have felt it without realizing it. You pick up a bunch, see the price jump from $1.30 to $1.50 to almost $2 and wonder, why is this so expensive? You probably never imagined that one day even bananas at Walmart would make you think twice. When meat prices go up, you can switch to beans. When milk gets expensive, you can buy the cheaper brand. But bananas, there's no real substitute. They're both the most basic grocery item and the clearest proof of just how fragile and dependent our economy really is. You can't grow them in your backyard. You can't replace them with something exactly the same. And now you can't be sure Walmart will always keep their price low for you. Number 3, coffee. Have you ever stood in front of the coffee aisle at Walmart unsure which one to grab? Maybe a big bag of great value because it's cheap, or a can of Maxwell House, the one your parents and grandparents used to keep in the kitchen. Or maybe one of the premium names like Starbucks Dunkin' or McAfee with their fancy packaging, bold aroma, and prices that no longer feel friendly. No matter which one you pick, you probably think you're buying real coffee. But here's the thing. Sometimes what you're paying for is just the label that says coffee. According to a survey by the National Coffee Association released in early 2025, over 63% of middle-aged American shoppers say coffee prices at Walmart have gotten unreasonably high in the past 18 months, especially for ground and bagged coffee. The problem is the higher prices haven't brought better quality. A Consumer Reports investigation found that many mainstream coffee brands at Walmart mix in up to 30% filler ingredients like roasted soybeans, roasted corn, or artificial flavoring, yet still slap on a 100% Arabica label. You think you're buying pure coffee. In reality, you're buying a chemical recipe that makes hot water smell like coffee. The frustration comes from this. Coffee isn't more expensive because beans are rare or shipping is harder. It's because brands are keeping prices low by watering down the real value of the product, then putting everything side by side as if they're all the same authentic coffee. And Walmart, as the retailer, lets it slide. To keep prices competitive, they keep stocking cheaper brands whose quality keeps sinking. You don't really notice until you brew your morning cup. The coffee tastes weaker. The aroma fades faster. The boldness you remember from 2 years ago is gone. And worst of all, you don't feel as alert, even though you're drinking the same amount. Coffee Review's 2025 data shows more than 41% of customers over 50 have switched to coffee pods, or whole beans, because they no longer trust traditional packaged coffee. But that's the more expensive route. When bagged coffee gets shady, you're forced to pay extra just to get that real taste back. Which means a proper cup of coffee now costs you twice, sometimes 3 times what it used to. What stings is that you haven't changed your taste. The companies changed the product without telling you. You only realize it when your coffee no longer wakes you up, when your taste buds start to protest, when that familiar comfort disappears from your mornings. And once again, Walmart, the place that made you believe cheap but good enough could exist, ends up breaking that trust through silence. They won't tell you. They just line the shelves and let you choose without thinking. At that point, the question is no longer which coffee tastes best, but Do you still believe you're drinking real coffee? Number 4. Lettuce. You're standing in front of Walmart's fresh produce section, bags of pre-cut lettuce labeled ready to eat, looking fresh, clean, and safe. But these days, the price tag makes more people pause. According to U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data, the average price of romaine lettuce is now around $3 per pound, up from $2.83 at the start of the year to $3 by July 2025. That's more than a 5% jump in just a few months for lettuce alone. It doesn't sound like much until you check your weekend grocery receipt add that to the bread, the vegetables, the everyday items you barely notice, and the normal feeling starts to crack. But what disappoints people more isn't just the price hike, it's the doubt it creates. You start to wonder, is lettuce really more expensive because it's harder to grow, because of the weather, because of shipping? According to USDA reports, retail prices for fresh produce lettuce included have risen only slightly in 2025. In fact, from May to June, the nationwide trend was a 0.7% drop, and overall prices were projected to fall by about 2% for the year. But at Walmart, you don't feel any drop. If anything, prices are creeping upward. That's when suspicion seeps in. You no longer believe Walmart's pricing reflects the real market. You never hear anyone at the counter say lettuce is cheaper this month. You don't see discount signs, markdowns, or any explanation for the price adjustments. All you see is a $4 bag of greens for your light morning salad, and the slow realization that even something this simple is slipping out of reach. The possible reasons are messy. Maybe Walmart is adjusting prices based on rising labor costs in producing regions. Maybe suppliers are pushing wholesale prices up, and Walmart isn't passing savings down when costs fall. The worst part, you think you have options until lettuce goes up, and you realize there isn't really a cheaper alternative. Lettuce is one of the most affordable, versatile greens, easy to pair with countless dishes. Cut it from your cart, and you lose some health, some convenience, and part of the cost planning you've built into your weekly budget. Meanwhile, Resonate Summer 2025 Consumer Outlook reports, economic anxiety has risen 22% from just 6 months ago, with 45.5% of consumers believing the economy will never return to normal. Which means when you walk into Walmart and see lettuce up a little, it's not just about lettuce. It's a jab at the fear that even the most familiar things are no longer as they were, and no one is saying why. You glance at the organic section, maybe greenhouse-grown lettuce, but it's double, sometimes 1.5 times the price you're used to. That's not a substitute, it's a last resort. You stand there, bag of lettuce in hand, with a new kind of doubt. The sense that Walmart, once synonymous with affordable, is quietly turning even the smallest decisions, like daily greens, into complicated math. The question is no longer, what will I eat tomorrow? It's, do I actually know what I'm paying for or what I'm losing without realizing it? Number 5, chocolate. Have you ever imagined a day when even a chocolate bar feels luxurious? Sounds like a joke until you walk into Walmart on a normal day, stroll past the candy aisle, and feel that sting for real. Once a Hershey's bar cost about $1 easy to buy, easy to enjoy a small treat after work. Now, same wrapper, same weight, same spot on the shelf, but the price, nearly $2, sometimes $2.50 in certain city stores. Do you pause? Do you hesitate before tossing it in your cart? You're not alone. A Retail Dive survey found that over 67% of middle-aged U.S. shoppers in 2025 said they hesitate to buy chocolate simply because the price has shot up so much compared to the value they get. Why is this harmless little indulgence suddenly a problem? The story starts at the root cacao. Global cacao prices have soared to historic highs. According to Bloomberg, in Q2 2025, cacao traded at over $11,000 per ton, up more than 260% in just 18 months. The culprits: severe drought in Ivory Coast, crop diseases, and global supply chain disruptions. And cacao is the main ingredient in every chocolate bar you see at Walmart, from Reese's to Lindt Hershey's to Walmart's own Great Value. No brand escapes it. Even budget options like Walmart's store brand chocolate haven't dodged the hikes. The average increased 23% in just the first 8 months of 2025, according to Walmart's own product tracker. So now you ask, who's still buying chocolate? The answer, plenty of people, but with a mix of frustration and resignation. Have you ever done this? You know, a product is overpriced, but you buy it anyway. Not because you can't calculate costs, but because you don't want to lose that little bit of sweetness at the end of the day. A piece of chocolate, not for the taste, but to soften the edges of a day filled with rising gas bills, insurance premiums, and prescription costs. Every bite whispers, I still have the freedom to treat myself. I can still choose a little joy. But Walmart, once the place that made those small joys affordable, is now quietly eroding that choice. Remember the last holiday season? Buying a big box of chocolates for year-end gifts used to be normal. Now even a medium-sized box is over $12 more than 40% higher than in 2023. The sad part is many people have stopped putting chocolate in their carts without even realizing it. They don't complain. They don't announce it. They just pass by the candy shelf. They learn to quit sweets for financial reasons, not health ones. Sound familiar? Have you ever skipped a chocolate bar at Walmart? Not because of calories, but because you knew just that one piece could nudge your bill into the uncomfortable zone. That's no longer a choice. That's being quietly pushed out of the game, and when even a single chocolate bar, the last little sweetness of the day, makes you stop and think it means the price battle has officially reached the deepest corner of the American shopping cart. Number 6, olive oil. Do you usually cook with olive oil? If you do, you'll know this feeling standing in the spice aisle at Walmart, holding your go-to bottle, and then freezing when you see the price. Olive oil, a kitchen staple for millions of American households, has now entered the danger zone on the price chart. That powerless feeling like someone changed the rules of the game without telling you is making people think twice every time they shop. This isn't a few cents more. This isn't a minor change. According to data from Retail Insight Network, olive oil prices have jumped more than 54% in just the past 12 months, making it one of the fastest rising cooking oils in 2025. Sounds unbelievable, but it's happening right now at Walmart, the place you thought always kept prices in check. A 500 milliliters bottle of great value olive oil that used to be $3.47 is now $5.38, and even higher in states like California or New York. So what's going on? Check the label. About 95% of the olive oil in the US is imported from the Mediterranean, especially Spain and Italy. But according to Olive Oil Times, a historic drought in Europe during 2024 and 2025 has crushed production. Spain alone is down 56%. Lower supply, steady demand, it's the perfect recipe for a price spike. And olive oil isn't something you can easily swap out. Soybean or canola oil might not be an option, especially if your household has seniors, people avoiding animal fats, or anyone following a Mediterranean diet. And Walmart, they're not saying a word. They're not putting up a sign that says price increase due to Europe's climate crisis. They're not showing you a comparison chart from last year's prices to this year's. They just change the shelf tag quietly and let you figure it out when your receipt is a few dollars higher for no apparent reason. Remember when olive oil was the symbol of healthy living for everyday people? 1 tablespoon instead of butter-lowering cholesterol fighting inflammation. Now every time you tip that bottle, you hear your wallet groan. Many are switching to smaller bottles. Some are buying blended versions, olive oil mixed with canola, but even they aren't sure what quality they're actually getting. Older folks, especially those 55 and up, who've spent decades making vinaigrette salads or pan-seared fish with a splash of olive oil, are now cutting it out completely. Not because they want to, but because they have to. And there's something bitter about that decision. Have you ever thought about giving up olive oil? Number 7, tomatoes. Tomatoes, one of the most common, cheapest, easiest to grow foods, showing up in everything from pasta to burger salads to juice, are now becoming the new poster child for the irony of America's retail market. Think I'm exaggerating. Just look at your grocery bill. In August 2025 at Walmart stores in the Midwest, the average price for 1 pound of beefsteak tomatoes was $2.47, compared to $1.65 at the same time last year. On the East Coast, those sweet little cherry tomatoes that used to be the healthy snack are now nearly $4.12 for a small box, up more than 40% in a single year, according to the USDA retail report and Walmart's internal pricing data. It's just tomatoes, right? The thing you never even thought twice about. The real question is, why would a basic crop like tomatoes, which you can grow in your backyard, matures quickly and isn't picky about soil, suddenly spike in price like this? That's where the frustration starts to build. Here's the thing, in the past 18 months, nearly 27% of tomato farms in Florida and California have shut down, partly because of rising labor costs, partly because of stricter water and farming regulations. To make up for that shortfall, Walmart started buying more from Mexico, which just got hit with extreme heat waves and off-season flooding. Supply drops, shipping costs rise, and instead of a long-term fix, what do you see? A new price tag, another price tag, and no one telling you why. You used to throw tomatoes into every meal without a second thought. Now you're asking yourself, should I add tomatoes to this sandwich or skip them to save a buck? When even the most familiar groceries at Walmart are climbing out of control, the bigger question is no longer how much does it cost, but who is this economy really working for? For Americans who have spent their lives living frugally, working hard, and just wanting a little stability in their meals, having to think twice about buying a tomato or a chocolate bar is the clearest sign they're being left behind. What's really happening inside the supply chain? And do we, as consumers, still have any real say in the value of our food?
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.